This is not the video I wanted to make this week, but Sunday, it's Thursday now at the time of filming, but Sunday I found some black spots on the leaves of my nightshades, and it was on all the peppers, and it was starting to be on some of my tomatoes, but not all of them. When you find some sort of potential disease or infestation like that, it's really good to catch it early, because usually you can do more about it before it spreads all over. Because it had impacted all of my peppers, I had two options. I could risk leaving those in the greenhouse, potentially treating them, and hoping it doesn't spread to everything else I have in here, which would be devastating. Like emotionally devastating. But or I could rip them all out and replace them right away and just assume we're just going to get rid of everything that's a potential disease. These are both really common choices, and they're often really difficult, depending on, I don't know, your personality type, how easy it is for you to make that decision, cut that out and move on, or try to nurse it through. I have types of peppers that I started from seed in here that I don't have ready access to replacements of the same variety, and because my growing season is short, even with the greenhouse, it's unlikely that if I started more from seed now, I would really get a whole lot of peppers before I had to put the fall and winter harvest things in the greenhouse, so that those have enough time to get big so that I can use them in the winter. So Sunday I worked at the greenhouse. I picked up a anti-fungus spray, gave that a try. I sprayed that directly on the leaves. I tried to isolate it just to the affected plants, and those right next to those in case it spread. And then I have been keeping an eye on it all this week, and there's been improvement. So I still have some spotting on the leaves, but it doesn't seem to be continuing to spread. So I'm going to call that, I think, a win for now, but I'm going to keep monitoring. The main trick is to figure out what went wrong. In part, it's difficult because there's too many potential causes. It could be that one of the plants I brought in was already infected, but I don't think so. They all looked the same. They were all started from seed at the same time. It could also be that because I was overhead watering, since I don't have irrigation in here, and it wasn't mulched, so it was splashing back from the soil, or very likely splashing back from the soil up onto the plants, that it was either the moisture and lack of circulation, as I was trying to retain heat in here, or it was spread from the soil to the plants. I personally think that's the most likely. The other option is that my tool could have been infected, and then as I used it, I'm just spreading it. So I did take the time to clean and sanitize the dibbler I've been using, because that's really the only thing I've been using. And I have been watering, now that my plants are taller, underneath them, closer to the soil. The soil is mulched to help prevent that splashback. And then I also removed as much of the infected foliage as I could. So by removing the infected foliage, you're doing what you can to reduce the spread of it in the greenhouse to the other plants. The other thing is that when things like this happen, it often impacts families of plants. So I was noticing this on my peppers and my nightshades. My peppers and my tomatoes. Those are both nightshades. Families of plants would be succumbing to this more quickly. Like, you would notice it on families of plants before it would more than likely take over everything else. So that goes back to, if I can catch it when it's impacting those plants, it's less likely to impact other plants. The other thing is to ensure that I've kept the east and west doors open recently so that I'm getting that cross breeze, increasing the ventilation, reducing the potential impact that the high moisture environment might have been having, spreading that fungus around. So at the moment, it's been 4 days. I'm considering leaving the varieties of peppers that I have. Anything that by the end of this week is just not recovering, I'm planning on just yanking it out. I did get replacement peppers. They're not the varieties I want, but in a situation like this, if you are faced with this choice of potentially losing everything you started from seed and having something else, in my case it's peppers, so if you are facing the choice between, well, I won't get my special peppers with the particular kinds of seed that I was looking forward to, or I can have no peppers. So I can choose to get more readily available replacement peppers so that I have some peppers, even if they're not the varieties I was looking for. Or I can choose to just not have peppers. And I would rather have peppers of some kind in an event like disease than I would rather just not have peppers. Like, peppers are delicious. So I did absolutely take some time on Sunday where I was mourning the potential loss of my special peppers, but yeah, for me it's really hard to justify yanking out the plants. I personally am more inclined to try to nurse something through a situation like this and see if I can recover it. One, because I don't want to waste the time I put into it, and two, because it's just really hard for me to kill the things that I started. Had the infestation not responded to the spray after a day or two, I would have absolutely just ripped them out, because the loss of everything in my greenhouse is not worth me being sad about not getting my special varieties of peppers that I've been looking forward to. So I am hoping that if you're faced with a similar choice, this helps you understand how you might be able to problem solve what you're willing to do or not do about that. I'm hoping you never have to experience that. In the event that you do, I hope this helps you think through the thought process of, well, how do I justify if I want to rip something out to prevent it from spreading, or do I take the risk and try to push things through? This week's been kind of intense in that things have not really seemed to be going my way. Just full of those days where just things that can go wrong are absolutely going wrong. The disease being found on my peppers was absolutely one of those things, and it just kept going. But this same week, I have also seen my first squash blossom on my pink banana squash that I've been trying to grow for several years now. I am now seeing that my Purple Heart determinate tomato has its first baby tomato. That's exciting. And my cucamelons are starting to vine up the tomatoes. They're doing that. They're responding to that really well. I have a small container of wonderberries in the fridge, and I need to harvest some more today, hoping to make some elderberry jam to go with like pancakes. It'll be delicious. Or elderberry syrup. I've got things starting to poke up outside, and it's been, since this is my first year having the greenhouse and outside growing space, it's been really exciting because I have flowers on my tomatoes. Some of my tomatoes are starting to produce. My vining crops in here, so the cucumbers and the squashes, are starting to also make their way up the twine. Some of my leeks are flowering, and I'm going to let them, because I haven't seen that before, and it sounds pretty cool. And my mini rose is putting on a beautiful show. I have my first nasturtium blossom inside the greenhouse, and outside the greenhouse, what I have is like baby corn that I direct seeded starting to pop up, and beans I direct seeded starting to pop up, and my early sprouts, so like my pantry sprouted potatoes, are way ahead of the seed potatoes I put in that roughed in bed. So now there's potato sprouts coming up in between the grass that I still need to weed. And it's fascinating to see the difference between things and where I've placed them, because I'm a full month ahead inside the greenhouse, and it's exciting to see how quickly I can get that produce out of here and then get more things from outside. I think it's going to be a really productive year. And so even in the midst of things just not going my way, it's a good reminder for me to just sit in here and appreciate that there's a lot that's going right, and a lot of things that I didn't have last year that I have this year. And it's kind of nice to have that positive thing to set against some of the sadness. So we're gonna hold out hope that the peppers make it through, and if they don't, I'll have different kinds of peppers, but I'll still have peppers. Hopefully you won't face that kind of decisions in your own gardens, and hopefully you have other things to balance it if you do.